Singing scales, they are important. They warm up your voice, they help extend your range, they help give you vocal agility, but they can also make you feel a little bit vulnerable, a little bit exposed as those notes are going up and your voice suddenly gets into a zone that it just doesn't like, and voice crack. Well, I've got 4 tactics for you to try out at home. My 4 tactics for singers are: manage your volume, manage your placement, prepare the body, switch those ears off. I will explain. So I just want to start off by saying, don't give yourself a fear of voice cracks, okay? A voice crack is not related to your range. A voice crack is just a moment of instability within the vocal folds, and it's usually a really good indicator that something just wants adjusting in your technique. So actually a voice crack is flagging something up with you. But if you do voice crack, don't think, oh, that means that I can't sing that note. Voice cracks usually happen on your sort of medium notes, your medium high notes. They're not so much on the top notes, so they're not related to range. They are a moment of instability that can happen through the range. They just tend to happen in those ranges where your voice is sort of saying to you, what do you want me to do with the technique here? I'm not sure. I'm going to take the easiest route. So that's what a voice crack is. Manage your volume as you sing the scale. So know that your lower notes are highly likely to be your loudest notes for most beginner singers. And as you go up, just know, just as you get to those zones that you're not looking forward to, just have a go at shaving the volume. So just sort of think, yep, shave 10% off the volume. Yep, shave another 5% off the volume, and just subtly shave the volume as you go up. As you get to the top, you may then your body may feel, oh, okay, actually I can start boosting the volume again. It's usually the medium high notes that people will tend to voice crack on if they're trying to maintain the same level of volume from the start of the scales to the end of the scales. So adjust your volume. If you're singing your scales and you're thinking, I'm in trouble, shave the volume. Go for tactic 1 first of all. Manage your placement. So you may be watching videos on YouTube about singing and coming across terminology that singing tutors will use, and some of the terminology may be in relation to vocal registers. You may have heard the terminology chest voice and head voice. If not, don't worry, I'm going to go through that with you. So a lot of singing tutors will talk about vocal registers, and within those vocal registers they'll talk about chest voice, head voice, and then mixed voice, or some people will call this the blend. Other singing tutors will use the term thick fold and thin fold. I use the 2 sets of terminology interchangeably because I think there is validity to both sets of terminology, so they're both useful. But it's probably most common to hear things like chest voice, head voice, mix and blend. So why use the term chest voice? Well, on your low notes, it's kind of where you feel the voice being placed. So if I do a nice rumbly, hello, hello, so I do a nice, oh, and I can feel a vibration under my hand. Now, some people will talk about the vocal elevator. I think that's a really useful way of thinking of the voice, because your chest voice is your lower notes, your lower register, and then knowing that as you go up the scales, you're on the vocal elevator and you're going to end up in head voice. So you've moved from the ground floor in the chest up into the penthouse suite in the head. So we've had a feel of the chest voice, hello. I'd encourage you to do that at home and feel the vibration under your chest. It really does feel like the voice is in the chest. And now we're going to feel for the head voice. So if you just sort of cup your hands, and I'm going to imagine I'm doing a bit of a yawn in the mouth, and I'm going to imagine I'm sending the note out of the ear. Ooh, out of both ears. Ooh. Now, of course, I'm not really singing out of my ear, but it's a good ploy to get that voice to move up into the skull. And that's why people will call it head voice, because it feels like the voice is in your head. So that yawny shape, like you're in a meeting and you really want to yawn and you shouldn't yawn in that person's face, and you're like, ooh. But if I put my hand here, ooh, there's no rumble. There's only a rumble if I sink the voice, hello. So that's why people will call it chest voice and head voice. Okay. Where people get stuck is this middle section, because it's neither fully in the chest or fully in the head. All right. So this chest voice is nice and loud, and this head voice is nice and soft. So you can see why tactic 1 really will be very helpful, because at some point you've got to alter the volume. All right, you can't keep the volume the same as you go up the scales. Coming back to tactic 2, managing your placement, you want to think of your voice in this vocal elevator, and it's transitioning from here up into the head. Now, as I said earlier, I also use the terminology thick fold and thin fold, because this is a thicker sound and this is a thinner sound. So if that terminology is more helpful to you, where you're thinking thick, volume, and then gradually stretching out the vocal fold to a thin sound, then that might be the thought to keep in your head. Rather than the vocal elevator, you might be thinking, start with a thick sound, start to thin it out, start to thin it out, start to thin it out. All right. So managing your placement, we felt the voice here, we felt the voice up here. So as you're singing the scales, think that the voice needs to move from where you feel it here, and it's got to move up into the head. So at some point you want to, instead of booming out the low notes, ah, you've got to switch tactics, which is to get a bit of room inside the mouth and to, I love the tactic of imagine you're singing out your ears, because it's just a quick tactic that you don't need to overthink. So you're going from ah, as you're going up, ah, ah, shave the volume, ah, now I'm starting to sing out the ears, ah, 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 ah. So you can hear I've adjusted the volume, but I've also thought about where is the voice in my body. Tactic 3, prepare your body. Now, you are the instrument when you are the singer, and your body has to be on duty while you sing. So think of a sprinter who's ready to sprint. They're not yet sprinting, but their body is all primed, ready to go. We as singers have to do the same thing. We have to have the body prepared and then sing. What you don't want to do is prepare the body as you sing. It's far too late. You need to be half a second ahead before the voice is released. Your body is prepared and then your voice is released into that prepared space. That's what you want. So be half a second ahead. If your body's not ready and primed, it's like the high note is dragging you up, kicking and screaming. You don't want to be dragged up, kicking and screaming. You want to have a level of energy in the body that's ready to sing, a little bit of excitement. If you're slumped over your computer, well, of course you're not going to sing the best scales, and your head's going to be forward and your head's going to be out of line. So be standing upright, have some energy in the body. If you're using a phone to read lyrics off, have that nice and high. Posture makes a huge difference in your singing. So if I do a and you're going to move everything more, your jaw is going to move more, you've got lots of space inside the mouth. So prepare that body. Switch your ears off. Well, what do I mean by that? Remember, you are the instrument as the singer, and you've got a lot of things to coordinate, and that's where your focus wants to be. You want to listen to the body more than you're listening to the voice. There is, you know, especially for beginners, there's too much to think about and too much to coordinate. You'll do yourself a disservice if all you're doing is just kind of listening for your singing. You need to be coordinating the structures. You need to make sure your posture's good. You need to, you know, have I shaved the volume off as I've gone up? Am I thinking of my voice moving up into the skull? Am I preparing myself to start that singing out the ears tactic? Have I made a little bit more room in the mouth? Is my jaw being used more than when I'm speaking? You've got all that to think about. You haven't got time to listen to yourself, all right? So really switch your ears off and start to become a technician in terms of feeling the technique and resting on the technique and practicing the technique and until it's in the muscle memory. Well, if you start listening to yourself, the inner critic starts to come out, and then you just sort of think, this is a really stupid idea, I sound really awful, why am I bothering with this? Put that aside, all right, park listening to yourself, park the inner critic, and work on the coordinations, work on the detail that you need to do within your body. And if you work on the tactics, your singing will improve. I hope that was useful, and I'd love to hear about your progress in the comments below. This is a new channel, so please like and subscribe. If you like riffs, you can check out my series Riff of the Week. You can also follow me, Voice Lady Lizzy Rushby, on Facebook. If you have any questions on how to improve your singing, please pop them in the comments below and I'll have a look at those. Good singing is actually just a few core fundamentals practiced well and so consistently that they are in the muscle memory. So make a practice plan for yourself, stick to the plan, you will improve, you can do this. I'm Voice Lady Lizzy Rushby and we'll sing soon.